opulences, bala, strength, kirtinam, good reputation, tava, your, tata, dear son, vivardhanam, which will increase. Translation: The great sages said, Dear king, we have come to give you good advice. Kindly hear us with great attention. By doing so, your duration of life and your opulence, strength, and reputation will increase. Purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. According to Vedic civilization, in a monarchy, the king is advised by saintly persons and sages. By taking their advice, he can become the greatest executive power, and everyone in his kingdom will be happy, powerful, peaceful, and prosperous. The great kings were very responsible in taking the instructions given by the great saintly personalities. The kings used to accept the instructions given by great sages like Parashar, Vyasadeva, Narada, Devala, and Ashita. In other words, they would first accept the authority of saintly persons and then execute their monarchical power. Unfortunately, in the present age of Kali, the head of government does not follow the instructions given by the saintly persons. Therefore, neither the citizens nor the men of government are very happy. Their duration of life is shortened, and almost everyone is wretched and bereft of bodily strength and spiritual power. If citizens want to be happy and prosperous in this democratic age, they should not elect rascals and fools who have no respect for saintly persons. So here we are on chapter 14, text number 14, giving you the background of this. In the previous chapter, we read that how Maharaj Anga, after he observed that he is unable to change his son's behavior, he gets the kind of detachment from this world, and one fine day he leaves his wife in the middle of the night and goes to the forest. Meanwhile, the soldiers, they go in search for him and they are unable to find him. So they come back disappointed. Now, beginning of this chapter 14, we hear that since they are unable to find King Anga anymore, and the kingdom should not be bereft of a king, so then they, with the permission of the Queen Mother Sunita, they decide to install Vena Maharaj as a king. And here, if you see here important points on the text too, they say all the ministers, however, disagreed with this. When the sages decided to install Vena as a king, the ministers were reluctant because they already knew about his behavior, and they were not very comfortable for him being the king because they already knew that Vena was very cruel, and they did not want him to be the king. And then afterwards, the story goes how after becoming king, he becomes more powerful and he gets all the 8 kinds of opulences. He becomes very proud, and by virtue of his false prestige, he thinks himself to be greater than everybody, and he starts insulting all the great personalities. We have seen in the other chapters of Srimad Bhagavatam how once one of the Purvaja of King Yudhishthir, called Nahusha, also happens to become the king of heaven for a temporary period of time. Usually it is so that if somebody has to be appointed as a king of heaven, they have a certain formality that they should at least complete like 100 Ashwamedha Yagyas or something. They have such conditions. So Nahusha hadn't completed all the 100 yagas. He had done maybe around 99 yagas. So then, meanwhile, what had happened was there was no Indra in the heaven because Indra had been cursed by Brihaspati. So then they thought, anyway, if Nahusha, after he completes the 100th yaga, he is going to become the next Indra. So why not call him beforehand? So they invite Nahusha to become the king of heaven. So when Nahusha comes there, after seeing the whole Vaibhava, the Aishwarya of being a king of heaven, he gets diverted and he starts trying to enjoy his senses at the maximum. And though he was a spiritual person who had done so much austerity in yaga, but after seeing all the opulence of the heavenly planet, his mind gets bewildered. Now, usually, what happens when somebody starts enjoying the senses unlimitedly without any kind of a discipline in life, Then slowly the downfall starts. So now, after he started enjoying, one fine day he gets thought that why not I enjoy Indra's wife too. Whereas he was not supposed to lay his eyes on Indra's wife, he's supposed to only enjoy the other opulences. But as they say, Vinashakala Viprita Buddhi, just like it happened in the life of Ravana or Kamsa or Hiranyakashipu, because of too much power and too much opulence, they lost the sense of judgment. What I'm supposed to do, what I'm not supposed to do, what is right and what is wrong. So then ultimately he proposes to Indra's wife Sachi, said, I want to enjoy you. Why not you come and meet me in my inner chambers? So then Sachi is all upset, and then she goes and asks Agastya Muni and all the other rishis, what am I supposed to do? He just see how he has his audacity, he has sent me such an invitation. So then the rishis say that don't worry. When somebody is going down and he is breaking all religious principles, ultimately there will be downfall. Sometimes it's a little later, but it will happen. So you do one thing. You send him a letter back saying that I agree to your proposal, but my only condition is that when you come to meet me in my inner chambers, you should come in a palanquin which should be carried by all the Saptarishis. So when this letter goes to Nahusha, he becomes very excited. And he said, oh, that's a very small condition. So he immediately calls the Saptarishis and says, why not you carry me in palanquin? Now the Saptarishis are speechless. How can somebody fall down this way? They're asking Saptarishis to carry him in palanquin. So they understand now it's time for his downfall. So they all accept. So they make him sit in the palanquin and they're taking him to Sachi's chambers. Now, meanwhile, in Saptarishis, it seems that Agastya is a little shorter fellow and the other Rishi is a little taller. So there is an imbalance. So the palanquin is going topsy turvy and they're going a little slow. Then this Nahusha, out of his excitement to meet Sachi, starts shouting in Sanskrit. He says Sarapata, Sarapata. That means, can you go a little faster? Can you go a little faster? So when he keeps on saying Sarapata and Sarapata, then Agastya Muni gets a little angry and he says, you were shouting Sarapat, Sarapat, go become a snake. So immediately from that palanquin, he was sitting all decorated in all opulence. He immediately becomes a snake, and right from the heavenly planet, he falls down to the earthly planet. So then by this story we understand that pride, they say that whenever there is going to be a fall, before that pride comes before fall. So it's such a beautiful lesson in the lives of devotees also. That's, when in any time in our life, if we see that somewhere we are developing a little attachment towards false prestige, or we really want people should be respecting us, or some kind of a feeling arises, so we know that this is our way to going down. So in this sloka number 4, they say that he starts considering himself to be very greater than anybody else, and he begins to insult great personalities. So when somebody becomes very self-possessed and thinks very great about oneself, one loses the sense of whom to respect, what to speak, when to do what. Then in the next sloka they say, well, he becomes overly blind due to his opulence, and then he starts behaving like an uncontrolled elephant. He begins to travel here and there, causing the sky and earth to tremble. Then the worst thing he does is he stops brahmanas from doing yagas, and then he forbids them from giving any charity. So the moment religious rituals are stopped, everything is going to be a mess, because the Prakriti will stop giving rain. Everything will become mess because everything is ultimately depend upon the religious activities. So then now finally all these great saints, they get together and they say, oh, this is a big mistake we have done, and by putting King Vena as a king, it's a mistake. Now see what is he doing. So these great sages, they started consulting each other and they said, now we are in a very dangerous position. We have put all the people in general also in a dangerous position by hiring or by putting an irresponsible king. Now slowly, finally one fine day, the sages, they decide that let us give one final chance to King Vena. We will go and try and speak to him, and we'll try to convince him And even after that, if he is not convinced, then we will kill him. This is what they decide. Now, the sages are especially guilty and are worried that they will also be part of the sinful reactions of the sins committed by Vena, because it was their suggestion that they made King Vena the king. The ministers, however, were not interested in making him king. So then they, you see in the sloka number 12, finally they decide that let's try and persuade him, and if he doesn't agree, then by our prowess we shall burn him to ashes. And then, though they are very angry on him, concealing their real anger, they pacify him with sweet words and very humbly they go and approach him. So, coming to our today's sloka, text number 14, here he says that, Dear King, we have come to give you very good advice. Kindly hear with us with great attention, and by doing so, your duration of life, your opulence, strength, and reputation will increase. So these munis, they're very kind to him, and they also give him a proper reason why you are supposed to listen to us. So if you listen to us, then your duration of life will increase, your opulence will increase, your strength will increase, your reputation will increase. So kindly you hear. What I felt very important point in this whole shloka was the word the munis used. They said Tavatata Vivardhanam. Though King Vena is behaving so irresponsibly, still the sadhus, they are so kind. They address him as Tavatata. Tata, actually. The Tata means son. You see in translation here, word to word, they say, dear son. And I thought that was so beautiful. Though Veena was misbehaving, they were not at all happy. They were actually upset with him, but still they address him as Tata. That means the saintly people, excuse me, the saintly people by nature, they are so compassionate. Sometimes apparently in their words also, if at all they sound harsh, but they are not. Actually inside they have so much compassion for every jiva. I was remembering the story how once Prabhupada was trying to train his disciples that I want to train you how you can fight with the other, argue with the other atheist. So he said that you people do the role of atheist, I do the role of devotee. And they were having to and fro conversation, and Prabhupada was trying to defeat every argument. And in between defeating every argument, Prabhupada was calling them, you fool, you rascal. So at one point of time, the devotees said that, you argue in a proper way. That's very good, Prabhupada. But why do you keep saying fool and rascal? This is not correct. So then Prabhupada said very sweetly, he said, because I love you, you rascal, because I love you. So it was out of his compassion that he uses these words, fool and rascal. Sometimes apparently devotees, they misunderstand, especially the newer generation, or especially sometimes when we try to preach to the new people, sometimes they have this question when they read Prabhupada books that how come, saintly people are not supposed to get angry? How come Prabhupada uses this word everywhere, fool, rascal? But it's just that he's having so much affection that out of affection he calls you fool, you rascal. But actually he's inside he's having so much compassion and attachment for every soul. He wants to take them all back to Krishna. So I was just reflecting on this that devotees are by nature so compassionate. Actually, those saints and these munis, they are the real well-wisher of the whole society. They are suhrida. Sometimes they may take a very strong stance in our lives. Sometimes they may apparently seem hard, but it's only for our good. If you see in the sloka number 12, where they say that we will kill Vena. Sometimes at the outset you feel how come saintly people talk about killing and all, but it's just for the higher benefit of the person. Like we see in Srimad Bhagavatam also that all through the Bhagavatam we see that there has been curses and counter curses only. So many a time when I explain this Bhagavatam stories to the younger children, many a time the children ask me this question that how come so many curses are, is it not that the saintly people are supposed to control their temperament? Why do they get angry so quickly? But if we analyze deeply, every curse is simply a blessing. Or even if they are it outwardly it seems like a curse, but basically it's a blessing. It's something which is coming out from their mouth only because of their very deep compassion for the other being. Like we see in the case of Narada, he cursed Nalakuvara and Manigriva. So it's not that he got angry and he could not control his temperament, but he was feeling so sympathetic that here are these two people who are children of a very responsible demigod like Kuvera, but they are behaving so irresponsibly. So, how do I correct them? So then he goes ahead and he curses them. And then we all know that the curse was actually a blessing in disguise, where these two are get to be born as the Arjuna trees. And then they are in the corridor of Nanda Maharaj's house, and finally they get to see Krishna. Even we see in the case of Indradyumna Maharaj, he was cursed by Agastya Muni to become Gajendra, elephant. And then we see that in elephant form he could actually see the Lord face to face. So that was also a curse actually, but blessing. We see in the case of Maharaj Nwigi, he was such a nice donor of the cows, and it was not his mistake that one cow goes away and comes back again and gets mixed in the king's goshala, and then by mistake he again donates the same cow, and the brahmana curses him to become a lizard in the well, and he suffers for so many thousands of years, but then ultimately he is blessed by having Krishna darshan. We see in the case of Narad Muni, he was cursed by Daksha Prajapati that you've been convincing my children to become devotees, so I curse you that you cannot stay in a place more than some time, for more than one day or more than 2 days. But then that was for the benefit of the whole world. Because of that curse, Narad Muni kept on moving around the whole world and preaching Krishna consciousness. He made Prahlada devotee, he made Dhruva devotee, he made Megari devotee. So because of his traveling, he could make so many people devotee. We also see the curse by Parvati Devi. She cursed Chitraketu, and then he becomes Vritsasur. But when he gets a curse of Vritsasur, he has higher realizations, and at the fag end of his life, before leaving body, he chants such beautiful slokas, and he had such nice realizations, and he was remembering the Lord. We also see in the case of Maharaj who was cursed by Devila Rishi. He becomes a crocodile, but ultimately he gets killed by the Lord himself. We also see in the case of Narad Muni when he was a Gandharva, and at one point in a sabha, he chants the wrong raga, or probably he actually chants something in appreciation of demigods rather than the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So he gets cursed to become a Shudra. So he becomes a son of a maid servant, and then but ultimately he is benefited because in that body he gets a chance to serve the Bhakti Vedantas during the Chaturmasya. And then he becomes aware, he sees the Lord in his heart. And we see in the case of Bali Maharaj, even he got cursed by Shukracharya because he was not following Shukracharya's instruction. And Shukracharya says that may all your material opulence go away. But ultimately he was benefited. Even if all material opulence was taken away, he could get the Lord's blessing. And not only that, even as of today, Lord is a security guard, a watchman in his kingdom. The Lord awaits him every time he goes. He's a gatekeeper. So if we see like that even in the life of Parikshit Maharaj. Parikshit Maharaj was cursed, but because of that curse of Shringi Rishi, he got our Bhagavatham and he got to hear about Krishna's glories. So, what we understand by all these examples of Srimad Bhagavatam is that basically the saints are very compassionate, and whether they get angry on us or whether they punish us or curse us, it's all their blessings, and that is a real blessing. Sometimes we think that blessing means a saint should come out, take out his hand, right hand, put it on our head and bless us that we'll be happy materially. But that is actually not the blessing. The real blessing is that when they actually bless us for our permanent happiness. Like we see sometimes in the life of Srila Prabhupada, once he was traveling in a train and there was one Indian businessman. So he went to Prabhupada and he paid obeisances and he said, Swamiji, give me blessings. So Prabhupada didn't answer anything. And then he asked again, Swamiji, give me blessings. Swamiji, give me your blessings. Ultimately, Prabhupada was a little upset. And then Prabhupada says, yeah, you have my blessings. May your material life get completely destroyed. And then he's all upset. He said, no, I don't want that kind of a blessing. So actually, the saintly people, what they actually give us is the actual blessing. Sometimes we are expecting some other kind of blessing which may not actually be beneficial for us. But the saintly people are the real suhrida. Sometimes we do not understand their behavior. In Hindi, there is a very beautiful bhajan. It says, Santa Paramahitakari Jagatamahi. In this whole world, the Santa, the devotees, they are Paramahitakari. They are the most well-wisher or the best well-wisher in this world. And for everybody, for all jivas, they are the best well-wishers. And even if we cannot understand their behavior at the outset, we should have firm faith that whatever they are doing is ultimately for our good. I remember this one very beautiful story. I don't know if previously I have shared this story in this forum, but however I'll repeat it. How there was once a brahmachari disciple of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and he had served the mission for around 40 years. So at the fag end of his life, he got a disease, some cancer or something. So the doctors said that he has hardly maybe a few months to live. So then he goes to Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur and he requests that since I've given whole my life to this mission and now I'm going to die, so just before that I want to see my mother. So I've not met my family for so many years. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur is very reluctant. He said, no, I cannot allow you to meet your mother. So he's very disappointed. Finally the days pass by and now he's very closer to death. So at that time Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur goes inside his room and says, now you go and meet your mother. So he's very surprised. He said, I did ask you for permission earlier, but you didn't give me, and now you're asking me to go and meet my mother. I don't want to go now because death is very close, and I don't want to leave Navadvip Dham, and I want to die in Navadvip Dham. And then Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he's very adamant. He forces him literally to go. He tells one brahmachari that you take him and put him in the train and somehow take him to his mother. The devotees and the brahmacharis in the Mata are so surprised by his behavior. How come he's forcing this brahmachari to do this? So finally they put him in the train and the train is on the way to Calcutta and this devotee dies on the way in the train. So now the devotee who had gone to drop him to Calcutta, he's all upset and he comes back to the ashram and he asks Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, why did you do that? You know, he didn't want to go and you forced him and he could not even have a proper death in Navadvip. And then Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur very beautifully explains, he says, well, if I would have allowed him to go and meet his mother before when he had asked me to, then what would have happened is because he's meeting his mother after 40 years, then his mother would have told him so many things about family, all the family gossips, so many such things. And then when he would have come back to Navadvip and left his body, though in Navadvip physically, but his mind would have been completely thinking about his family members and mother. But now, since I forced him to go to Calcutta to meet his mother, his mind was completely on Navadvip only because he was thinking, oh, I wanted to leave my body in Navadvip. I wanted to leave my body in Navadvip, but I'm forced to go. So, though physically he did not leave the body in Navadvip, but his consciousness was in Navadvip. So, sometimes what these saintly people do for us, we do not understand. Sometimes we misunderstand, even in our spiritual life with our mentors and guru or Siksha Guru or Diksha Guru. Sometimes we may not understand what they're trying to do, but at least we can have that faith if they are deciding something for us. For sure, it's for our well-being because they are well-wishers of everybody and they have a very compassionate heart. We see even in case of Krishna and Arjun, there is one story from the Purana, how once Krishna and Arjuna are roaming around in the forest and they happen to come across a old lady who's living there in a very poor condition in a hut. And this lady has one cow and she sells the milk of that cow and somehow surviving. So when Lord Krishna and Arjuna they stay with this lady for a couple of days, she serves Krishna so beautifully. Arjuna is overwhelmed with so much love for this lady, the way sincerely she had served Krishna. So at the end of 3 days, when they are off again back to Hastinapur, on the way Arjuna is asking Krishna that, my dear Lord, this lady served you so selflessly, so beautifully. My heart goes for her. But I was surprised that at the end, when we were leaving back to Hastinapur, you did not give her any gift. So Krishna said, well, maybe you didn't see. I have already given her a gift. So Arjuna asked that, what gift did you give, my Lord? And Krishna says, well, I blessed her that her cow dies. So Arjuna was surprised. He said, Krishna, this is not a gift, this is a curse. Because the only way for her to survive is her cow. If the cow dies, how will she survive? And then Krishna says, well, actually, it's a blessing because the old lady has only 3 or 4 more days to live. Her lifespan is only that much. And if her cow would not be killed, then at the end of her life, she will remember the cow and die. But I want she should remember me and die. So that is why I made this arrangement that her cow gets killed. So once her cow gets killed, then she will have nobody to invest her attachment into, and she will remember me. And if she remembers me, then yam yam vapi swaran bhavam, she will come back to me. Sometimes even if we don't understand the Lord's plan and all, but if we stick to our sadhana process properly and we are under the shelter of a mentor with full faith, we know whatever Krishna plans and our Guru plans for us is for our good. We see in Prabhupada's life also the Janki Mataji, wife of Mukunda Prabhu, in the early 1967 in San Francisco. She was very attached to a cow. I'm very sorry, cat. So Prabhupada was not happy with that. Many a times he said that in the Western countries, these people are so attached to the pets. So after some time, Prabhupada got a message by a devotee that Janki Mataji's cat died. And the first thing Prabhupada said was, good. And the devotees were surprised. How come Prabhupada saying like this? He's supposed to show compassion. And then Prabhupada goes on explaining that how she was so attached to the cat, and now since the cat died, she can put her complete focus on Krishna. And then devotees did observe that once the cat died, Janki Mataji became more serious in Krishna consciousness. So sometimes, like what we think apparently a sad situation may not be so. Even in Prabhupada's life, we remember many times Prabhupada very humorously was sharing with his disciples. He said that I was not very attached to my wife. I wanted to marry again, but she was not very beautiful. But then my father explained that it's good that she's not beautiful, so you won't be attached to her. You can progress in Krishna consciousness. So sometimes from such situations in life, we may feel are not very conducive, but Krishna has his own plan. It's not that Krishna only plans Arjuna's life. He has planned everybody, all of our life, and it's not that he's only the chariot driver of Arjuna. He's actually chariot driver of all of our lives. It's just that we have to place the reins of our chariot in his hand. And when we are in this process of Krishna consciousness, and we have taken shelter of Harinam, and we are following the four regulative principles, and we are under the shelter of a proper mentor and connected to the parampara, we have already placed our reins in Krishna's hand, and he has planned for us. So whatever situation in life, we have to take it positively. We see in the life of Narsi Mehta. He was a saint in Gujarat. When somebody came and told him that Narsi Mehta, your wife expired, then the first thing came out from his mouth is that he says, "Bhalu thayu bhangi janjar, sukhe bhajeshu Shri Gopal." Said, good happened. The chains of attachment have broken. now happily I will worship my Lord. By giving this example, I'm not trying to say that devotees are heartless and somebody in their family dies, they're not bothered. What actually I'm trying to say is that devotees take everything in their life as a plan of Krishna. They think it's a Krishna's plan and they take it positively so that they can progress further in Krishna consciousness. So here also we see that whatever these words the sages are using, oh we will kill him, or we'll do that, but basically it is out of compassion. It's not that they are unable to control their temper or something like that. Actually, the devotee knows when to do what, how to do. They are expert. I'm remembering one pastime from Prabhupada's life, how he was once walking on the Juhu beach in the morning. And when he went for this morning walk for the first time, so all these businessmen who are passing by, Prabhupada on his own, even though they are not looking at him, on his own he was saying good morning to them. So they did not respond back, of course, and Prabhupada kept saying good morning, good morning. And when he came back to his quarters in Juhu, then devotees asked him, said, Prabhupada, why did you say good morning? Why didn't you say Hare Krishna? If you would have said Hare Krishna, at least that word would have gone into the ears. Their Krishna consciousness life would have said, how come you said good morning? Prabhupada did not reply anything. Then on the second day when they went for morning walk, the same businessmen to whom Prabhupada had greeted saying good morning, the same people now greeted Prabhupada back saying Hare Krishna Swamiji, Hare Krishna Swamiji. And then Prabhupada gave a smile and looked at the disciple who had asked this question. So then Prabhupada went explaining that first we need to, behave, or first we need to give them what just make them feel that we are normal or like them, or the way we have to go about preaching is first we have to make the other person comfortable. Sometimes we are so rigid about our own this. So now since I told them good morning to please them, they wanted to please me by saying Hare Krishna. So sometimes the saintly people, they have their own way of dealing. Of course, these are not the ways which we can imitate. However, but by hearing such pastimes and incidents, we understand one thing that they say that there is one saying in Bengali that those Vaishnaver Kriya Mudra Vigya na bujai. Those who are Vaishnavas, their behaviors, even a intelligent Pandit cannot understand why they are behaving and why they are talking like this or why they are doing this. It's difficult to understand. So here we see this saints, these munis. So they are all angry. So they say they want to actually kill him, but they want to give him another chance. So then they approach him with nice words. They first pacify him. They give him another opportunity to change himself. And they go on with in the other slokas you will know from the next classes how they go on explaining to him about religious principles, how he's supposed to follow them. But then ultimately we will know that in spite of all the good advices that they give him, Vena is reluctant to follow anything. And finally the saints do kill him. So I went on to explain all this as that we should not misunderstand the behavior of saintly people. Whatever they are doing is for our own benefit. I'll end the class here and I'll open it for any questions if so. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Pranam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. Mataji, thank you so much for your translation.
Haribol.
Mataji, I have one question. Mataji, sometimes we don't understand the plan of Krishna. Means how can realize every moment in this, everything, whatever is going on, it's good for me only. How we can develop that kind of faith?
Yeah, then we are in this society which says International Society for Krishna Consciousness. So we need to make sure that we are always in consciousness of Krishna. So being in consciousness of Krishna is not only that we preach about Krishna or talk about Krishna, but no matter whatever situation comes in our life, also we take it as Krishna's hand, as if it is Krishna's arrangement. So one thing, like I have many times given this example of how there was one newly married couple, they were going in a boat. Somebody had called them for dinner. So they had to go across the river to some other place. And on the way it started raining heavily, thunder and storm, and the boat started moving very violently. So the wife tells the husband, how come you're not afraid? We may drown. So then the husband immediately takes out a knife from his bag and he puts it to his wife's throat, and he says, are you afraid? And the wife says, why should I be afraid? It's you, and I know you love me so much. You wouldn't hurt me. So similarly, the husband says that, just like you're not afraid, even though I have put a knife across your neck, I'm also not afraid because the person who has caused this thunder and storm also loves me. He is my well wisher, and I have full faith he has proper plan for me. So, like that, as devotees, we need to develop that faith on Krishna that whatever He's doing is for our good. Sometimes in our life, it may be difficult because whatever we see, suppose let's say something happened in our life which apparently on the material platform may not be very happy for us, and then usually what we wait for is maybe after 1 year or 2 years, Krishna will show us that that thing what happened to us for was for my good only. But in every devotee's life, after so shortly, you may not get a result. Even after many, many years, also for you, that incident may be a bad incident only. You may have never realized that it was for your good only. But what we can do to develop our faith is by reading scriptures, and when we see in other devotees' lives how Krishna had played such an important role in their life, and whatever Krishna had done, which apparently seemed not so good initially, but basically it was for their long term happiness only, then by such reading such incidents we will feel encouraged. Like we see in the life of Pandavas or Kunti Devi, or for that matter Narsi Mehta or Tukaram, or just about any devotee's life, we see that all of them had so many struggles, so many problems, but though Krishna was with them, Krishna was always with them, but ultimately it was for their good only. So at least by seeing that other devotees' life, we should feel encouraged, because in our life, though whatever we are going through may be for our good, but immediately we may not understand. But of course, Krishna has a bird's view of everything, but we have a limited view. So maybe in our lifetime also, it may not happen that we may realize what Krishna did is for our good only. Maybe sometimes these are carry forward actions which may be beneficial for us in our coming lifetime, so which we do not know. So sometimes we do get disappointed. Oh, how do I know that Krishna helped me? But the only thing is that we can have faith. Like certain things cannot be proved, but then we can have faith that Krishna is my well wisher, and whatever is happening is for my good. Definitely, it is not so easy as it is spoken, but the only thing that can help us to develop this faith is by associating with the devotees, so that they keep encouraging us that Krishna is our well wisher, by reading scriptures, by knowing the pastimes in different devotees' life, how Krishna helped, gives us a little hope that when he has helped so many of them, why won't he help us? And when the learned munis or rishis or the Vaishnava acharyas are also telling us this, that Krishna is our well wisher, he is going to help us, then slowly by reading and by chanting and by following properly, our heart gets purified, we become more clear in thinking, and slowly we start developing that faith on Krishna. I'm sorry about my voice. I have a little throat problem today. Yes, I'm not sure if I could explain my answer so well to you.
No, Mataji is fine, Mataji. Mataji, it's happen sometime, because we want to progress in a spiritual life, but sometime we disturbed by these things. We want to practice the spiritual life the way we want, means whatever is and sometimes the Krishna will put in different situations, it's difficult to develop that faith. Thank you, Mataji, for explaining.
Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandak Pranam, or Krishna Prabhupada. Mataji, when you said that we are to have that feeling that whatever is happening is for by Krishna's mercy and for his Krishna who is doing it. So, is it not that we are again expecting from Krishna that okay, whatever is done, maybe some good is coming? So, again, are we not getting entangled in that goodness which is going to come in a couple of years or some good which is happening? Or should we just leave it according to our prarabdha that this is shape and this was going to happen, and whatever happens after that, maybe good or bad, it is going to be my karma. So, what should our mode be in this situation when something happens?
Let me see if I got your question correct. I think you are asking that even to expect that whatever is happening for my good is also an entanglement, is it not? So, of course, it is. It's different levels a devotee is in. So, when we are in a lower level of consciousness, then we have that expectation that, okay, whatever Krishna is doing is for my good. On the second level, a devotee thinks, even if it's not for my good, I don't care, because it's like Aslisya Vapa Zaratam Pinastumam, the last sloka of Shikshashtakam. Whatever way he keeps me, he is my ever well wisher. So maybe this is how I'm supposed to get purified. Even if nothing good happens in future, and even though I'm troubled today, it's for my purification. They have so much firm faith on Krishna. That is second level of Krishna consciousness, where they're not expecting good. They're not expecting anything actually from Krishna. They just want Krishna. So there are different levels, but having said that, we may all not be on that higher level of consciousness where we are able to accept anything that Krishna does. So at least in the lower level, when we are in bhakti, we can at least have that positive hope, and that will move us forward, saying maybe Krishna is planning something good for me. This is something like, when the children, we have to give them medicine, then we just bring some strawberry flavor of paracetamol or some raspberry flavor. But when we get elder, we don't need such flavors. We simply take a paracetamol tablet. So it's like different level of devotees. When they are in a lower level, then for them that is one way to explain that, look, whatever Krishna is doing, it's for good only. You may not be able to understand now, but it may be for your larger good. But when a devotee goes a little more in Krishna consciousness, it's not about good or bad. It's just that whatever is happening, I deserve that to happen. It's for my purification only. So even in future, apparently materially no good going to happen, but spiritually every moment I'm getting purified. Actually, whenever we suffer the bad results of the bad karma that we may have done previously, is also actually a happy thing only, na? Because it's like your bank account is full of your bad karmas, and there's one bank account which is full of your good karmas. So it's like, if you keep withdrawing with a check, the account balance is going to get reduced day by day. So that means every time that you are facing miseries, it's a happy thing, because that bank account which has the results of your sinful activity, there is withdrawals. So that means the balance is going to come down day by day. So it's such a happy moment. And then those who are again in very higher consciousness, for them, because they are not in material consciousness at all, so for them the definition of misery itself is different. Like we see in Ramayana, when Hanumanji goes and asks Sita Mata, Mataji, Mata, how are you? What should I go and inform Ram? Then Sita says, well, this is not Vipatti. So Sita tells that, you go and tell Ram that actually this is not Vipatti. Vipatti is when I will be put in such a situation where I wouldn't be able to take Lord Ram's name, then that actually is trouble. This is not trouble. I'm okay. At least I'm able to chant, I'm able to remember Lord Ram's name. So when somebody is in more higher consciousness, for them, nothing of this material world affects at all. For them, the only important thing is that whether I was in bad situation or whether I was in good situation, am I able to remember Krishna stably without forgetting him? Then that is a success of my life. So again, depends upon what level we are, but in whatever level we are, we can be a little positive, because we may not be like Kunti Devi that Krishna give me trouble, and we are in a different level. So whatever makes us see, the whole point in Krishna consciousness that convince your mind to stay on. That's it. Don't leave this process. So whatever helps you in, if this helps you that something is going to happen good in future, stick to that. If that you don't require that kind of thing, you are okay with whatever Krishna does with me, then you stick on that level. Whatever level is applicable to you, we just need to move ahead.
Thank you so much, Mataji. Thank you. Very good. Thank you so much, Mataji. Thank you for taking the pranam to your prayer. Even all answers. Thank you very much for your participation.
Mataji, I'm not able to hear you very clearly. I'm sorry.
Hare Krishna, Sacred Pranam. You already given all answer the question we have. Thank you very much.
Thank
Whenever more and more difficulties came in our life, we become more and more sincere in the bhakti. So whatever situation Krishna is keeping us, that is good for us. As for example, I don't want to come abroad. I just told my that I want to go, I don't want to go, but that is for my purification, and I become more sincere in bhakti. That's why. Thank you, Master.
Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna, Mother, this is Damodar Das from Bloomington, Illinois. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you very much for the wonderful lecture, especially the episode of wishing good morning to a stranger. That was very instructive. Mother, I have a question at the end of this. The Bhagavatam actually describes almost all situations that one can face in life, and then also gives us the solution. So this episode of Vena is actually very pertinent nowadays because of a lot of violence happening. And it is said the people who commit violence, they show their, signs at young age. They are cruel to the animals, so they do certain things. They with the weapons that eventually they end up committing a lot of violence. So that's exemplified with this King Vena. The question is, why did the sages install him as a king? All the sages are very wise personalities, and the ministers were objecting because they knew who he was and what was his nature. So in that case, why did the sages install him as a king? That's my question. Hare Krishna.
Yeah. Now, of course, what you have asked, I may not be able to give you 100% answer. There may be so many reasons. What I'm able to understand is that in those days, it was very important that the king's vansha goes ahead, and only those who are born, the royal-blooded people, are supposed to be put on the throne, because when they do that for all practical reasons, it is easy to rule the citizens, because by nature they are respectful towards the royal family, maybe one reason. And second is that, as I told you, that saintly people are very compassionate. They always want to give a chance, so they're always thinking that maybe if he's been put into a responsible position, then he may mend his ways. Like, these days also, if the children are not listening, or young girls or boys, they don't listen to parents, then in India they think the only solution is that get them married. If they get them married, then they will become more sane, because they will have more responsibility of taking care of their wife or something. So like that, maybe the saintly people may have also thought that he is already behaving so irresponsible way, but now since his father has left, now he may think that I'm responsible, since my father has left, now I'm supposed to take care of the kingdom. So he may mend his ways and he may become a good king. So they did give him one chance, one opportunity. If they wouldn't have given him chance, also would not be correct, because sometimes, as you just now said, that in young age they are more violent and all, but then after some time they become more peaceful. So maybe that was one way. Like, we see, like in the case of Raghunath Das Thakur also, Raghunath Das Goswami also, when he was going and running away all the time to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, then his parents thought that better to get him married, then somebody can tie him home. So immediately the saints must have thought that he's already going wild, but if we give him a responsible position, he may mend his ways. Now there may be so many reasons, but what immediately comes to my mind is maybe these two reasons. So if there are no more questions, then we can disconnect this call.
Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna.
Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Then Guru Maharaj, thank you so much for your beautiful class, Mataji, and thank you so much for your time. I think there are no more questions now, so we can end.
Hare Krishna. I'm sorry. Actually, I decided that I did want to ask this one last thing. Just reassurance that if we are going through some difficulty, can we be assured that Krishna will show us the benefit of our having had to go through that difficulty so as to increase our faith in Him?
Hello.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, but it was muted. I could not understand your question. Can you repeat, Mataji? I'm very sorry.
Yes. I just wanted to confirm that if we are going through a very, very difficult time in our life, will Krishna eventually show us how that difficulty was indeed a blessing and of some kind of help to us, so as to foster our faith and trust in Him?
Actually, the first question which Mataji asked also was like this only. So I was explaining that it's not necessary that sometimes Krishna, you may not be able to see in your this lifetime that whatever happened with you was for your good. Sometimes it may be carried forward to the next lifetime also. Again, it depends upon, it is so subjective and depends. It's like a customized reaction of Krishna to different devotees. If he thinks it's necessary to keep your faith on him moving, then he may show. Sometimes he just wants you should be more stronger, then he may not show actually how it helped you. So it's just that that is why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the only instruction which he gave in the last instruction he says was Aslisya Vavadaradam. So no matter whether he shows us in this lifetime that whatever trouble we went through was actually for our good, or he doesn't show, we should have that faith that he is our well-wisher and whatever has happened is under his direction. Because we all know that the chanting of these names is so powerful. If somebody is chanting Hare Krishna, if somebody has taken initiation, somebody is already in this process, that means all the purva janma karma has already been destroyed. And if we are not thinking it is destroyed, that means we are not having faith on. In Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu it is said that whether kutam bijam phalan mukham, whatever stage of it our sinful actions are of our previous life, whether they are in a fruit or stage or a seed stage or a sapling stage, the moment somebody surrenders to Krishna, chants, it is destroyed. That means now, after surrendering, chanting, following the sadhana process, even now, if we are going through some kind of a difficult situation, is completely Krishna's arrangement and it's nothing else. So that means it's not that Krishna is hard-hearted, and now having said that it's not our previous this and it's only Krishna's arrangement doesn't mean that Krishna is hard-hearted, but it's just that sometimes certain things are required for our purification. Maybe we require it. So that is why he puts us in certain situation. So the only thing is sometimes things don't happen according to our timetable. It happens according to Krishna's timetable. So as devotees, what it says in Bhagavad Gita also, many slokas Krishna says that I like that kind of a devotee who is equal in all kinds of situation and he accepts whatever he goes through as my arrangement. That's it. Actually, what we are simply supposed to do now in this lifetime is simply be watching things as the things are happening. Sometimes bad is happening like a third party without getting affected. Simply watch the events the way they're happening, sometimes good and sometimes bad, and take everything as Krishna's arrangement. Actually, those who are jnanis, they remove this one line Krishna's arrangement and they simply say that we are supposed to be a witnesser and let the things happen and go and we're supposed to be untouched. But since we are following the bhakti yoga and we know that to be like that untouched is so difficult when there are bad things happening or sometimes good things are happening. So what we are doing is we are surrendering to Krishna. So now whatever is happening we are saying it's Krishna's arrangement, and by that it gives some kind of a mental relief that yes, there is somebody out there up there who's actually seeing through our whole life, and he is planning up things for us. So that gives us immense strength to go with whatever situations are happening with us in this life. But again, to keep an expectation that he will show me one fine day how this was for my good, better not to keep such expectation, because we're not sure whether he will show or not. But in every situation we need to keep our faith on him, because Prabhupada says that, because scripture says that, because saintly people say that, and then according to that we also follow that whatever Krishna is doing is for my good. I don't know if I've been able to answer.
Well, my concern still is, though, that for someone who might not have that level of faith, in other words, the point is it that Krishna will do whatever he needs to do to keep our faith in him? Because if a person is going through difficulty and then they don't see how this is for their either material or spiritual good, then won't Krishna be concerned that this person will lose faith in me? So I should, somehow
Yeah,
reciprocate.
I'm sure he must be concerned, but it's only thing is that maybe he has his own solution for things. Sometimes it so happens that we let Krishna know what the trouble we are going through, and we also give our solutions also. We have our own solution in our mind that if this is the way Krishna responds, that means he has responded. But probably Krishna has a completely different way of responding. So we cannot define how he is going to respond, because he is Swarat, independent. So he's we just don't know what he's going to do. Like we see, he protected the sons of Kunti Devi, but he didn't protect his own mother's children. All his brothers died. He didn't protect the sons of Draupadi, but he protected the sons of Kunti. Sometimes it's just that with everybody he has a different kind of a treatment. So we don't know how he is going to, we cannot decide for him. It is he who decides. But I'm sure Krishna is so concerned for every jiva. So but only thing is that he may not select that solution. Like we cannot give Krishna options that if you want to show that you are concerned for us, that means number one solution, or option one, option two, or option three. Maybe he has option 8, option 9 for us, which we never even thought about. So we'll just have to leave it on him what option he's going to select, and what way he's going to show us that it is for our good. We don't know. Sometimes it may not be very directly visible that Krishna did it. Some other person may come in our life and try to help us out of that situation, and but definitely we know that is also sent by Krishna, but he has his own way of doing it. Of course my answer is very on top of it, because I don't know what exact situation you're talking about, but I'm just trying to give you a general.
No, it's general. It's general
Yeah,
for
it's a general
for
view. Yeah.
for a person who might not have that strong faith yet. But so for such a person who does not yet have that strong faith that they can just say, okay, Krishna, whatever you want to do with me, I know, you only want my
Somehow
my best
I
interest. So
have a
for that
feeling
person,
that
how to develop that faith?
no, I have a feeling that just like in our school exams, if we are studying in grade 4, then the teacher gives us grade 4 question paper. But the teacher does not expect that we are going to answer the PhD questions. So in our school, there is a system. Grade 4 children get grade 4 exam papers. Grade 5 children get grade 5 exam papers. So if Krishna puts somebody in that situation, he puts according to their level of Krishna consciousness, according to how much they can take. He knows he is a very good examiner. So we shouldn't worry so much. I'm sure if he has given that paper means that person can definitely do that paper. That's why he has given that exam paper in their hand. So he knows whom to give which paper. But definitely he gives something which we can answer.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, Mataji, thank you so much. It was a very wonderful answer. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
So we'll disconnect it here. Are you all done?
Hare Krishna Mataji, I just had one last question.
Yes.
Mataji, now when you said that Krishna will give you like the calamities or the distress will be according to your level of acceptance, right?
Yes.
So at times it happens that, like you feel I do not want to be strong because it's the level of my strongness or the level of my accepting that problem is going to define how much distress I can take. So I do not want to be strong. Let me bring it up, let me be scared so that Krishna will not give me so many problems. Like that feeling sometimes comes in our mind when like at early age when somebody has to face death or somebody has to face the dear one passing away. So then you feel that you do not want that anymore. How can we take that then? Like I never have understood this part. Like why will Krishna give you calamities according to your acceptance?
It's not like that according to what I was trying to say is that if we are put through a particular situation or test, we can do well in that situation. That is why we have been put there. Sometimes like even children, when they get an exam paper, they may feel, the grade 4 child may feel, why did I get grade 4 exam paper? How I wish I would have gotten a kindergarten exam paper or a nursery exam paper. It would have been very easy for me. This is a little tough. But even if it's tough, that's your grade paper. You need to pass on that only. You cannot expect easier papers. So sometimes we feel like that, but we will have to answer the paper what Krishna has given according to our standard, the grade in we are. But we should never worry that Krishna will give us more than we can answer. It's not possible. I remember when as a young child I was attending Bhagavatham class in ISKCON Hyderabad, and they were talking about Krishna's special mercy, one of the Swamijis. I was in school those days, and he was explaining that if Krishna loves you too much, that whenever you get trouble, that means Krishna loves you a lot, because he doesn't want you should get all material comfort, otherwise you will forget him. So sometimes he gives his special mercy on you. He takes away everything, so he's a monopoly god, so that you love him only. So when I got so afraid as a school going child that why is Swamiji talking like that, and then I immediately raised my hand and I said, but I don't want his special mercy. I'm really attached to my parents and I want all conducive atmosphere in my life. And then Maharaj told me this, that he said, don't worry, what class you are studying. I think I was in class 6. I think I said, Maharaj, I'm in grade 6. I said, don't worry, in your school exam, they will, if you are in grade 6, they will give you grade 6 paper only. They're not giving you grade 10 paper. Similarly, Krishna also, whenever, even if he does want to give you that special mercy, first he will prepare you for that, then only he will give you such situation in life. So sometimes we do feel tough, but if Krishna has given us that paper, as a teacher, he knows which paper we can answer, which paper we can't. So even if apparently it seems a little tough, we need to get going with that. Now again, having said that, sometimes taking away of loved ones and all, sometimes everything is Krishna's arrangement. It makes us more strong, even if we don't want to. Children also don't want to get away with the fever. They're so happy, relaxing. They don't have to go to school, but they have to take paracetamol. They have to get well and start going to school and all. So sometimes we also in life we don't want to be strong. We don't want to face such situations. We want to escape. We want to always be in our comfort zone. But Krishna is that loving, doting Father wants to prepare us for every situation in life. So even if he seems a little tough teacher, a little tough father, but then we know he's our father. He's not our enemy. He just wants to make us more strong. And he's there by our side all along in every situation. He's not left us. He's just training us, preparing us, and giving us all that strength. Sometimes he may not directly intervene, but through his devotees and so many other people who come in our life, our mentors, our family members, and they give us that support. That's also arranged by Krishna indirectly to help us.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. So we will end the call here. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, and all the Vaishnavas, Vancha
This session is no longer being recorded.
Hare Krishna Mataji, thank you very much. Very, very nice, wonderful class. Nice question, nice answers to all the questions. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Dandavat pranam. Thank you for the full answer. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Mataji. Hare Krishna.